Hello, everybody. I just wanted to come on just a few minutes early so people could start coming in. We're going to get started at 7. That way we can have us a good hour and then we can get off. Please share, please share, please share. This is going to be amazing. This is going to be uplifting. I think this will be a time where your faith is lifted. I think this would be a time where you may be going through something right now and you just need to have a little faith. And I do believe that this will help you and encourage you in some way. I haven't been on Facebook that much this week because I've shared my story a lot, different states out of the country. But this is the first time of me sharing my story, going into a little bit more details. So I hadn't been on Facebook that much this week. I wanted to take time to be in prayer because I'm sure that I may go in some areas that I haven't been in a while. I am truly healed. God has healed my heart. I don't have things that I have to deal with. I dealt with those things when this happened, but I just felt that I really wanted to share because I think we're in a place in our society right now where we need hope, we need inspiration, we need empowering, we need to be inspired. And I do believe that our story is a gift to others. The things that we go through, we all have a story. We all have gone through something, and that's our greatest gift, is to share our testimony. And so that's why I'm here tonight. I do want you to feel free to type in questions if you have questions, and I will at times try to stop and read them and answer the questions. I do want to say this is not about my ex-husband. You can ask me questions about him, but this is not about him. This is about what God did in my life and how powerful and awesome he is. And I just want to be an encouragement to someone, and maybe you can share with someone also. So I'm just going to give it a few more minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm not going to go detail for detail in prayer. I prayed about it, and that's not what I want to do, and it would take too much time. God has truly, truly been good to me, and I just want my life to be an example. This is not about me. It's about God using me as a vessel, and that's something that I had to understand in order to have me to be a light to others. And I had to go through some things, and I had to go through a lot of pain, and I had to go through a lot of hurt. And so while I'm sharing, I'm going to ask you to just be in prayer with me as I share. Although I've done it 1,000 times, and although it's my passion, it's still, when I think on some things, it really tugs at my heart. So I wrote down a few things that I wanted to talk about because I didn't want to get so far. This is not going to be formal. This is going to be real relaxed. I'm home. I don't have no music or anything like that. I just want it to be comfortable because, to be honest, when I went through what I went through, there were no bells and whistles. It was just truly me and God. And so I'm going to start off sharing what happened to me years ago. I was married 8.5 years, and we were together, I'm gonna say 12, 13 years, but we were married 8.5 years. I was 32 when this happened to me. We had 2 children. We had a home. We were 2 middle-class working parents, husband and wife, family. And There was no domestic violence abuse. There was no, we were not getting a divorce. We had issues like anybody else, but not, I would have never thought, never, ever dreamt or thought that this would have happened. And so one morning, I woke up to go to work, and my husband at the time was in bed, and he told me that he was not going to work that day. And so I was like, okay, so don't go back to sleep. Don't forget to call in. So I kind of put a little rush in my feet, and I went, got my daughter up and got my son up and got them on the way, and we went, and I dropped them off and I went to work. At this time, maybe 3 months earlier, I felt something missing in my life. I didn't really understand what it was. I just knew something was missing. And so I couldn't understand why something was missing, because I had a house, I had a husband, I had 2 children, and I just couldn't understand what the void was and where the void was coming from. And so I began to, pray about it and things like that. And my husband was never saved. And so I went to church as a little girl, went to church, and be honest, got up and went to church on Sunday. And so at this time, him and I, we talked, and we had a family friend, Pastor Wilson, and some people from where I am, they will know who he is. We went to him, and we both did the sinner's prayer. And this was the very first time someone really explained to me the sinner's prayer and what it meant. And so I in my heart, I just really wanted to know if God was real. I've been going to church for so long, since I was a little girl, and I always had this view that God, God gonna get you. That's, things like that was said. And so it always made me feel like God was so distant, or he was a mean God, or, every little bad thing that I did, he was gonna get me. And so and this was my question to myself, and I said it to myself, and I just said, God, I just want to know if you're real. Like, I just want to know if you're real. And so here I am. At this time, I was 32, and I'm saying, I just want to know if you are real. And so months went by. Pastor Wilson had gave me Psalms 27 to read. And to be honest, I didn't have a Bible. But remember what I said, that I went to church every Sunday, right? I didn't have a Bible, so I had to find a Bible. And when I did, I found the Bible, and I went to Psalms 27. Went to Psalms 27, did not understand a word, because it was thus is thous, these, and all of that. Didn't understand it. So prayed that night, and I just I need a Bible. I need a Bible. I need something that I can understand. I don't understand what this is saying. And so the very next day I went to work, and when I got there was a package waiting for me. And the security officer, he was like, I was Miss Lewis at the time. He said, Miss Lewis, I have a package for you. And I was like, okay. And so when he bought it and I reached inside and pulled the package out, it was a Bible. It was the Women's Devotional American Standard Bible. And I pulled it out and I went to Psalms 27. And when I went to it, I was able to read it. I was able to understand it. But I still didn't understand what it was saying to me. The Lord is my salvation. Who shall I fear? And I still didn't understand what it said to me, but I was able to read it. And so that was God's divine intervention. That was one thing. And because I prayed the night before for a Bible, and the very next day I got it, and it just hit me like, wow, I prayed for a Bible, and nobody was in me. Nobody hurt me. I didn't ask anybody for it. And the very next day I had a Bible. So that kind of sat inside my heart. That did something to me. Anyway, about 3 months went by, and by this time I was praying and really talking, to God, and on the way to work, when I was in my van alone, praying at night, reading that scripture, and I began to do it. And to me, I began to feel that void that I was telling you all about. I was beginning to feel it, just feel full. I began to feel full, and I couldn't understand. I still didn't quite understand why. And so 3 months went by, and this particular day I got up to get my children, ready, and he was laying in the bed, and he said he wasn't going to work. So I said, don't forget to call in. I went ahead, went to work, dropped them off, got to work. About 10 o'clock, the phone rang, and he asked if I could bring him the van because he didn't go to work and he couldn't drive the company's car. And I told him, sure. So before I left, I went across the hall in my office. I went across the hall to one of my best friends, Beverly, and I asked her to follow me home. Not for any reason, just not for any reason that like I was scared or anything, just so I could take him the van and he wouldn't have to worry about bringing me back to work. And so when I went in her office, she was working on a report, and she was like, well, I'll be done in about 10 minutes, and I said, okay, well, don't worry about it. Cause I had a little putt-putt at home that I could drive. I had a car that I could drive that I bought, my first car I bought in Atlanta. And so I was like, don't worry about it. I'll just drive, my putt-putt. And she was like, no, she said, I'm going to be right behind you. And I said, no, I don't want to bother you. And she was like, no, I'm going to be right behind you. Very, that kind of friend, like she going to tell you what to do. And so, I said, okay, whatever. So I didn't argue with her, and I left. And I got home, and I went inside, and he was upstairs in our bedroom. And at that time, I had on a suit, and I had on some heels. So I kicked my heels off in the closet and put on some little sandals. And I could hear, the horn blowing outside, and it was her. And he jumped off the bed, and he was like, who is that? And I said, oh, that's Bev. I said, she came to give me a ride, so I got my bag, threw it across my shoulder, and headed downstairs. And as I was headed downstairs, he was walking on the side of me, which our staircase was very narrow, and he was walking on the side of me. And even then I wasn't thinking anything. I was just thinking like, we're going to end up falling. And he, got downstairs before I did and stood in front of the door. So I reached for the doorknob, and he kind of pushed my hand down. And I was like, because I got to go back to work. And back then we had time clocks where you had to clock in with the card. And so I reached for the doorknob the second time he popped my hand. And so, of course, y'all know. I was like, look, we don't play that. We don't even play fighting. So move out the way. Let me go. Bev's outside waiting for me. Come on, stop playing like for real. And he stood in front of the door. By this time, Beverly has gotten out of the car. So now she's standing on the other side of the door. So she's knocking with the door knocker. And he yells to her, Bev, you can leave. I'll take her back to work. I said, oh, no, you won't. I said, don't you leave me. I hollered through the door to her. Don't leave me, because at that time, my husband or not, I didn't feel safe with him. And I couldn't understand why you're trying to keep me inside. And I have to go back to work. And so when I went to reach for the doorknob the third time, he reached up and punched me in the face. And when he punched me in the face, it knocked me back into the kitchen on the floor. And my hands hit the blinds. And so the blinds was just making this loud noise, swinging back and forth. And so I heard her outside say, I'm going to get help. I'm going to get help. And I didn't hear anymore. And I was dazed because he hit me so hard in the face. I was just dazed. Like I was trying to get my bearings. I was on the floor, and I was holding my head because, he punched me real good. And I could hear him jumping the stairs, but I'm still trying to get my bearings, really just trying to get my bearings. And by the time I got, no. By the time I kind of came to myself, he was standing over me and he said, "See what you made me do?" And he was just looking very just evil. And I'm thinking to myself, see what I made you do. So I'm trying to get up off the floor and I'm still kind of holding my face. And he goes in his pocket and he said he was going to kill himself. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So now I'm like, what? What are you talking about? What's going on? What happened? What's wrong? So now I'm babe and honey, what's wrong? Talk to me. What's going on with you? And he said, pointed the gun at me and he said, we're going to die today, and told me where to go sit. And I followed, went where he told me to go. And he pointed the gun at me, pointed the gun at him. And he was like, we're going to die today. I know she's gone to call the police and I'm not going to jail. I'm not going to jail. And so as I'm sitting at our table, at our dining table, I hear God's voice. Well, I hear this voice. I'm going to say this at the time. I hear this voice and it says, move to the sofa. And I'm saying to myself, I'm not moving to the sofa because I see this gun. Like I see this gun and I see the gun pointed at me. I'm not moving. I'm not moving. I'm not moving. I'm not going anywhere. And it was like, move to the sofa, move to the sofa. And I got up and I'm telling y'all, I know that this was not me. I got up and I moved over to the sofa and he just followed me because I just knew he was going to shoot me. I knew because he's telling me, be quiet, sit down. He has the gun pointed at me and I'm moving. And as I'm walking, he's walking behind me. And I'm just like, but I know I hear this voice, and this is the same voice that I've been hearing praying in the car. Same voice I've been hearing talking to me when I pray, answering my prayer, the same voice. And so I move over to the sofa and I sit on the middle cushion. Now by this time, Beverly has come back and knocks on the door because Bev does not know he has a gun. I didn't know we had a gun in the house. I didn't know. I never knew we had a gun in the house. We never had a gun as far as I was concerned. We didn't need a gun. And so when he pulled the gun out of his pocket, I just, where you get a gun from? What are you doing? Just, I mean, so much comes to your mind when you're in a place like that, because it's such a level of fear that you never think that you would experience. Like, it's a fear that you know that you're in danger and you know that it's nothing that you can do about it. Like, you're helpless. There's nothing you can do. And that was the scariest part, that it just, like, this cannot be the day. Like, when I dropped my children off this morning, and that was the thing that got me the most. When I dropped my children off this morning, you mean to tell me that was it? That I wasn't going to see them again? Now that is what, that's the thing that still gets me now. And more than anything is the fact, that fear that I felt, thinking that I would not see Brandon and Chelsea again. So anyway, Bev knocks on the door and he said, he looks at me and he says, I'm not going to jail. He said, we're going to die today. I'm not going to jail. Like, he meant me. And I knew he meant it. And she knocks on the door because she doesn't know that he has a gun. And he fires the gun and it goes into the wall. I'm sitting in the middle cushion. So I look at the wall and there's a hole. And so I know that, I know for sure that I'm going to be shot. Like, I know it. I know he's got the feel of that gun, and I know that like it's coming. And so I'm begging with everything in me. I'm begging him, not to, babe, what's going on? And I thought about Chelsea and Brandon. And so I said, what about Chelsea and Brandon? Who's going to raise them? They were 4 and 7. Who's going to raise them? Who's going to take care of them? And I just knew that was the answer. Like, I just knew that the moment I said that he would come to himself and put the gun down. And he looked at me on the sofa and he said, somebody will. And I was just like, that was my last straw. That was my last hope. That was it. If me bringing up our children don't get him to put that gun down, that's it. And so I began to beg and I began to plead for my life. And just, Gene, don't do it. Just don't do it. Please don't do it. Don't do it. Just put the gun down. And I'm crying and I'm begging and crying. And once again, he says, I'm not going to jail. We're going to die today. And he pointed the gun. And so when he pointed it, I'm crying and I'm begging. And then God's divine intervention. Here's that voice again. You're crying and begging, but you hadn't called on me. And so I said, Lord, be with me. And when I looked back at him to the left, he pointed the gun and I knew he was, I just knew. So I kind of went to the right and I said, Gene, don't do it. And I went to the right and I felt being shot. Immediately, I could feel that I lost the use of my right arm and it burned. It just burned like it was in an oven. But blood was pouring from my nose. And so I kept going like this. And every time I went like this, my hand was full, like covered in blood. And I couldn't move. I couldn't sit up. But I felt like, this is what it felt like for me. When you hit your funny bone or when you in between two cymbals and you feel that, when you hit that funny bone and you get that vibration, I felt that. And it's like I felt it and then it went out my feet. And when it went out my feet, all of this just burned. It burned. And so, but I couldn't understand why blood was coming from here if he only shot me in my arm. And so I'm slumped over and I'm looking at him because I'm slumped over to the right and he was to the left of me. And I guess by me being slumped over, he thought I was dead. Maybe my eyes, I think my eyes may have looked it closed. And he said, oh my God, what have I done? And he put the gun to his head and I watched him shoot himself. And I watched him fall over the coffee table. And so I'm slumped over on the sofa. I could see the back of his head because the coffee table was in the way. And I just assumed he was dead. The police, and I was still conscious, the police came in. I could see them when they bust in the door. Ambulance, all of them. The EMTs came in. One jumped on the sofa where I was. Some went over there to him. They took him out first. And here again, God's divine intervention. The guy that jumped on the sofa was one of my classmates. And he said, Val, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. I got you. I got you. Me still not knowing why blood is pouring from my nose. So they took him out. Now, this time, Beverly, when I talked to her later, of course, when I got to the hospital a couple of days later, me and her talked about it. And this is what she told me. And I'm going to tell y'all this part now. Beverly said that they had, came and she had went and called the police and all of that. When he hit me, she had called the police. And so she said when the gun went off, one of my neighbors had came up and he put her to the ground and told her to get down, get down. That's a gun. And she said, they don't have a gun. He said, that's a gun. That's a gun. And put her down to the, ground and told her to back up. She needed to back up. And so when the police came, she said they came in and she said they came back out. And when they came out, they put the yellow tape around the house. And she said, I fell to my knees. She said, because to me, I thought that yellow tape meant a murder scene. And she said, I fell to my knees. And the man had to make her, get back. She said, I was just crying. So when they came in and got him, they took him, and then they took me. And I kept saying, please just take me to surgery. Please just take me to surgery. Because I thought I was only shot in my arm. And I just kept saying it, but my mouth, I could tell that my mouth wasn't opening. I could tell that, I could tell something was wrong. I could tell something was wrong. And so we got out. They came and bought me out, took me out next. And I could see I could see her shirt. And all I saw was her go down. She said, oh my God, no. Oh my God, no. And I could see when she went down, maybe went down on her knees. So I got in the ambulance and I asked the classmate if she could come with me. I said, can she come with me? And he told me no, that they didn't allow, people to ride in ambulance anymore. So at this time, I didn't know that Bev had done called my mom and everything. My mom was out there, but of course the police wouldn't, they wouldn't let her close to the house. So anyway, we got to the hospital. I don't know. I didn't think about him. I didn't worry about him. I really thought he was dead. I just kept asking them, please take me to surgery. They had an oxygen mask over my face. And I just begged and asked them to please take me to surgery. Please take me to surgery. Please take me to surgery. And I remember being taken into this room and the light above me. And I don't know. I really don't know. I still don't know how much time went by. I don't know. I lost a lot of time doing that. And I remember, next thing I remember, my mom was in the room. And she was rubbing my head, and she wasn't freaking out or nothing like that. I just thought, like I said, I just still at that time thought I had just been shot in the arm. And she was like, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. She was rubbing my head. And I remember my baby sister. I remember seeing her, and I'm still asking, they need to get me to surgery. They need to get me to surgery. They need to get this bullet out. I just need it out. Because, we watch so much TV, and TV make you think that, surgery is all you need. And that's all I kept asking for. But I had this oxygen mask over my mouth, but I was still asking, just take me to surgery, take me to surgery. So finally, they started rolling the bed, and I'm like, thank God, I'm going to surgery, thank God. But I could tell my mouth wasn't opening. And I just was like, thank you. I'm going to surgery. Next thing I know, I was going into this bed thing, tunnel, they was doing an MRI. And when they took me off the bed to put me on the machine, I could hear them saying, call the detective, call the detective, call the detective, call the detective, whatever. So the detective came. I'm still kind of lost, don't know what they're doing. I'm thinking they're getting ready to take me to surgery. Got out of that, went back to a room. So I'm in the bed. I'm still wondering, and so finally the doctors come in, and again, Beverly told me that while they were doing all that, they had called my mom and family into the room. And my mom asked Beverly to come in with them into the little, family room that they call you in. So Bev was like, she was saying, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear what they got to say. I know what they do when they call people in the room. I don't want to hear it. She said, but your mom insisted. And so she said when they went in, the doctors told them that I had been shot in the head. And my husband did. He shot me 3 times with a .38 Smith & Wesson. I was shot through the head. I had a bullet go in here, and it went all the way through my head and came out over here. And then I had 2 bullet holes. He shot me right here and right there. This one went in and traveled up here and broke my clavicle, went through my neck and came out the back of my spine. And so when they put me in to do the MRI, they had to take me out because the bullet in the back of my neck, they didn't even know it was in there. It just dropped out. It just fell out the back of my neck. And so that's when they realized that I had a bullet back there and bullet fragments, because this bullet went in and all the way through here, and came out over here. I never felt any pain, didn't have any pain whatsoever in my head, didn't even know I was shot in the head. The other bullet, I didn't realize I was shot in the head until I think maybe I stayed in the hospital 3 days. I didn't have any surgery, no stitches, no bones cracked, no blood transfusion. But I had a hole here and I had a hole over here. I had 2 holes in my arm. I had a hole in the back of my neck. And then when I got out of the hospital, one bullet that was in my arm stayed in my arm, and they told me it'd probably stay in there. I probably would never use my arm again. I lost the use of my right hand and my right arm, and I have this claw effect, and a lot of people don't even pay attention to it or don't notice it because I don't baby it. And I remember when I couldn't use it at all. And at first it was clawed like this. It was clawed up like that. And so that's when I found out that I had been shot. No. That's not true. That's not when I found out. I stayed in the hospital 3 days. The first day I was like on my back the whole time. And I had a neck brace on. I didn't know I was shot in the head then. My oldest sister came from Jacksonville. And my oldest sister came in from Jacksonville, and the blood was in my head, and it smelled, and my head was swollen, and I had gunpowder residue burnt in my face. And they had my bandages, but they had them back here. So I was on my back for all of the first day. And then my oldest sister came and she said, they haven't got the blood out your hair. And so she asked for a spray bottle or something that they could use, because I had a big brace around me, a clavicle brace, which held my arm up like this, because they wanted my clavicle bone to start back mending. So they had me in a brace with my arm up. They had a neck brace on me. And so my sister came in and she tried to get the blood out. So when they got me up, when the nurses got me up, and I passed by the mirror in the hospital, that's when I realized I had been shot in the face. And when I looked at myself, I didn't know who was staring back at me, because I totally looked like a monster. Like the trauma to my face, like I looked like, and I always say this, Cher had this movie where her son had like a elephant head, I can't think of the name of the movie, but The Mask. I think that's what it was called, The Mask. And it was just distorted. And and I said, and I looked, when I passed by the mirror, I said, and that's when I realized I was shot in the head. And I said, he shot me in my head? He shot me in my head? And that's when it hit me that he tried to take my life. Like my husband that, this man we had children together. We wasn't getting a divorce. We wasn't going through. We wasn't doing. But he shot me in my head. And that was the first shot. I found out later it was the first shot. And that's when whoever I was before the shooting, that's when I became just empty. I was empty. That did it. Like, I was lost. I was empty. I was just numb. I was just, because I couldn't understand. You shot me in my head. And he didn't only shoot me one time. You shot me 3 times. And even though at that time I understood that God saved me, it was so much hurt and so much pain until I couldn't even celebrate or even, I couldn't even acknowledge what God had done because it was so much pain, so much darkness. And I just kept saying, he shot me in my head. Because to look at myself, you can see the hole. You can see the hole. And then it just wiped me, whoever I was. I was just lost. I was just there. I was just a shell of a woman. It made me just in a dark place, just numb. And so I stayed in the hospital 3 days because the doctors were like, there's nothing for us to do. There's no reason. We don't understand. We don't understand how she got shot in the head and no bones cracked. Like a 38, it hits and shatters. It hits and it shatters. And her bones intact. She's talking. She had a bullet, the bullet that fell out her neck. When we put it in the MRI, it came out her spine. She's not paralyzed. We don't understand. And my doctor came and told me, he said, it's somebody up there that got his hands on you. He has something he wants you to do. You're a special young lady. And even hearing that at the time, I couldn't receive it because I was in so much pain. I was so devastated that the miracle that God had performed, I couldn't even receive it. I couldn't receive it. So I ended up staying in the hospital 3 days. And when they finally said that they would let me go home, discharge me, my mom or my sister bought me a pink robe. And my face was just twisted and gunpowder residue burnt in my face. And I had a bandage here and a bandage there and a bandage in the back of my neck, my arm in a sling, my hand clawed. It was just the vow that was before those 20 minutes when I went home. When I left the hospital, I was just a shell. I left the hospital with a robe pulled up to here on both sides. And I had my head tucked down because I couldn't stand to see who I was, and I couldn't stand anybody else to see what I looked like because I looked like a monster. That's what I looked like. And I was just so hurt. I was so hurt and just trying to understand, but there was nothing to understand. And so I left the hospital, and the only thing that I did know that I was going to my mom's. I didn't go anywhere else. I never went back to my home. I ended up losing my job. Never got furniture out of there or anything. I think we got the washing machine and dryer. Never went back. Never. That was it. My children never went back to their rooms. We ended up living with my mom. And then, God had saved me. But then now here's the real work. Here's the real work. It was a battle of the mind. Like, I mean, when I tell you the enemy came at me hard, what did you do? People, the street committee had so much to say. I was doing this, doing that. He was doing this. He was on drugs. It was like, it was so much. I was like, I didn't know people could be so cruel when you're hurt, when you're going through, it was just, but God began to allow me to know that, look, I made death behave for you. I made death behave for you. So you focus on me. I don't need you focusing on nothing. He'll say, he say, she say, whatever. You focus on me because I made death behave for you. You said you wanted to know who I was. You said you wanted to know if I was real. Now you know. And that took time, and it was a process. And even though I knew God had saved me, and even though I knew that I was still here for a purpose, it was a process I had to go through. Like, I had to go through it. And I'm telling you, at times at night, I'd cry. I would get up in the mornings, and I couldn't even open my mouth, my jaw, because it shifted my jaw when I got shot in my head. It shifted my jaw, so I could barely open my mouth. Like, I could eat grits and mashed potatoes and mushy food like that. I couldn't use my arm. I couldn't write. I couldn't flip a pancake. I couldn't do my daughter's hair. And people see you where you are now, but they don't know your story. They don't know all the details of what you've gone through, because God will make it look like you didn't go through it. But I went through it, but it was the strength that he gave me to go through it. Because I tell y'all, I thought I was going to lose my mind. Like, literally lose my mind. Beverly would come over, and I would just be like, okay, Bev, I gotta go. And she was like, where we going? I didn't know. I didn't have the answers or nothing. I just felt like I needed to run. I just felt like I needed to get outside myself. I just felt like I needed to, didn't know what I was doing. I felt literally like I was losing my mind. And that was a scary thing. And then I would look over and see my children. I would look over and see my children who mom can't work, done been shot in the head, dad shot in the head, he's still in the hospital, you can't go back to your house, they don't have a home. I'm looking at all this. I can't take care of them. I can't even comb Chelsea's hair. I can't flip a pancake. I can't even write my name. It was just one thing after another, and I just got deeper depressed and more depressed and more depressed and more depressed and more depressed. So I started saying, okay, I'm going to put this mask on, and we all know that we do that. So I'm going to put this mask on and pretend I'm good, and I'm going to pretend I'm fine, and I'm going to pretend that everything's okay, and I'm going to be all right. I'm here to tell y'all, pretending that doesn't work either. That doesn't heal you. I had to accept the fact that it happened. I can't change it. But where am I going to go from right now? What am I going to do right now? What do I have? And what I had was God. I had God. Like, God made death behave for me. Like, I should have died. The doctor said, that bullet should have went in here and shattered. It shouldn't have went in there and came out. It should have went, and you have nothing wrong with you. You still talking. You still up. I started realizing, and God started bringing all of those things back to me. And then I started realizing how blessed I was. And if God showed up when I needed him the most, that I had to trust him through this process. And I know a lot of times, we go through, and you may be going through right now, but I'm saying that you have to trust him through the process. You have to. My faith went to another level, and I began to share with others, because I said, if God can make death behave for me, he can heal your body. If God made death behave for me, he can put you in a house. If God made death behave for me, he can pay your bills. He made death behave. Like God's divine intervention. He will intervene. And he's intervened. And he told me, he said, just like you sat on that sofa and you heard me in the midst of all the confusion when you begging and pleading for your life, because you was begging and pleading to the wrong person. He said, but you heard my voice. He said, I'm always speaking to you all. I'm talking to y'all all day, but y'all so busy. Y'all so busy of the world, listening to stuff, wanting to be here, wanting to be there. He said, and I am speaking to you all the time, but y'all don't heed my voice. You don't heed what I'm saying. You don't hear, so you miss it. He said, thank God that I was able to hear his voice when I was sitting on that sofa and a bullet, a 38, went through my head because I heard God's voice. He made death behave for me. Brenda, I see you on here. He made death behave so he can find you a kidney. You know what I'm saying? Like, death is the ultimate. Death is the ultimate. And if God can make death behave, this is where my faith went. This is why I'm the way I am now. Because I just trust him and I just believe him. Because he made death behave. I should have died February 23rd, 1997. I should have been out of here. I should not. Yesterday I spent the day with my 2 granddaughters. I was not supposed to be here. But he kept me here. I was able to see my daughter and my son have children. That's a blessing to me. That's a blessing. That because God made death behave. I had to go through in order to find out who I really was. And it wasn't easy. I ended up on food stamps. My husband worked for the housing authority. I ended up having to go to the housing authority to sign up for Section 8, get on food stamps. I had to go on disability. I had to do whatever I had to do. And because it wasn't the life that I had planned, God still made a way. He still provided. That's the main thing. He still provided. We was in a Section 8 house, but I tell you what, the bills got paid. My kids ate. They didn't go lacking. They didn't have the name brand this and the name brand that, but God provided. They had what they needed. And I'm telling y'all, it was a trying time. Trying to teach myself how to write with my left hand, trying to go to college, can't use my right hand, trying to teach myself how to write with my left hand. It was things that I had to do, or I was going to just sit there and complain or say, oh, I can't do this because my husband shot me. Oh, I can't have a house because my husband shot me. I got to be on food stamps for the rest of my life because my husband shot me. No, those were just stepping stones to me because I said, Lord, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to believe in you. Even after that, I stayed with my mom for a while, got a Section 8 house, moved out, took care of my children. And of course, especially ladies, you know, when we hurt, we think a man is going to be the answer. Got involved with somebody, had another baby. Here I am with 3 children. Now I'm on second. I'm already struggling, but I'm out here with 3 children. And not until I went back and repented to God and told him, because he had told me to write a book. And I said, I'm not going to write the book. I'm not writing no book because I lost everything. What am I writing a book about? I'm not healed. I don't have anything to share with nobody. So why you want me to write a book? I'm not writing a book. So instead of writing a book, I went and got involved with this man. Ended up getting pregnant. Here I am with 3 children on Section 8, trying to take care of another one. And I was just like, but I tell you what, when I repented and went back and I said, Lord, I'm sorry. I should have been doing what you told me to do. You trying to lead and guide me, and I'm trying to do because of how I'm feeling. Do anybody want me because I got 6 bullet holes in my body? I'm worrying about the wrong thing. And I went back and I repented. And then God came and said, okay, We're going to pick up where you left off at. I told you to write the book. He didn't have to tell me but one time. I started writing the book. Didn't have a computer. Started praying for a computer. Daddy Robert Lampkin. Saw him one day outside his house. And I told him, I said, Daddy Lamp, I'm going to write a book. And he said, you are? I said, yeah, but I don't have a computer. He said, baby girl, I got one in the house. And it just was just the things I started asking for. God started providing through people. God's divine intervention. He started showing me, I am intervening in your life. I intervene in y'all life, but y'all don't see it. Even if it's the small things. And so I was like, okay, I got that computer, put it in my car, went home, and I said, Lord, this is not me. Whatever you want me to write, I'm going to write. And then I had to go back and revisit the pain. I had to go back and revisit that day, sitting on that sofa, begging and pleading somebody not to shoot me, not to kill me, begging and pleading somebody for my life. And I started writing, and God gave me the title, God's Divine Intervention. And I wrote God's Divine Intervention. And then I started going to church, and I started speaking and sharing, and the faith that God said it would help somebody with their faith go to another level, to know if God can make death behave, that anything is possible. Anything is possible. And I believed that. I believed it with all my heart, and I still believe it today. Anything is possible. God is real. I had to find that out for myself. God is real. And from that book, I started selling that book out of the trunk of my car. My children were able to go to college. I was able to take care, still on disability. Still on disability, but God was making a way. Didn't have a husband. Had a brand new car. Didn't work. He allowed me to be home and provide for them. All of them. And every month, I kept saying, how am I doing this? There's no way we are living and making it off of this. There's no way. But it was God. Even when I messed up, when I did things wrong, he was still always there, ready to take me back, ready to wrap his arms around me, ready to take care of me and my kids, provide, give me my needs. He said, I shall supply all your needs. Not my wants, my needs. And I began to understand that I was just a vessel, that I had to go through that. I had to, because I tell y'all, I have met so many people, so many of you all that's on this Facebook Live, that's my friends, that's my family. You wouldn't have been, I would have never met you if I had not gone through that. And so that's what makes it worth it. I have some of the best relationships with people that I've met that I would have never met if God would have allowed the enemy to take me out on February 23rd, 1996. But I have met so many people, and I know that my life and my testimony has blessed so many that have, because they call me and they tell me. I talk to people about relationships, and that's why I work with relationships now, talk about relationships and love, because we have to stop hurting each other. We really do. We have to stop being so vindictive and ugly, and then we want to call it love, and be so selfish and thinking about yourself and what somebody got to do for you, and treating people bad, and like they owe you something, and you don't have a clue what love is. That's God don't love us. I mean, he don't do us like that. He don't throw us away. He's not unconditional. His love is, his love is unconditional. It's not conditional. If I don't do this, then you're not going to do that. You can't love me through my good and my bad. And it's just getting worse. We out here killing each other. To get somebody and to go stab somebody 100 times because they want to break up with you because you treat them like crap. But then they want to break up with you and you will kill them. We have to stop and find out what is that emptiness, that void. Remember that I told y'all about that void that I had? See, that void is filled now. Like, I'm single, and I don't have a void in here for somebody to have to come fill. It's already, it's filled. It's already filled. If you come, you will be a compliment to my life. You're not going to fill my heart oh, I got a void, so I got to have a man to fill it. No, you will be a compliment to my life because I'm good. I'm good right now. But that was a process. It was a process because to me, that's too much. That's too much, to put on a person, to have to make you happy, to have to if you are emotionally unavailable and you cannot give as much as a person is giving to you, just say, hey, I'm not ready. Like, I'm not ready for a relationship. I'm not ready to be committed. I'm not ready to make an effort. I have problems, communicating. I have an anger issue. We just have to be real and upfront and then work on that. Like, for real. Like, work on yourself for real. Because if not, you in a relationship and you just got somebody there pampering you, babying you. Got to be careful what they say to you because you are not emotionally mature to be in a relationship because you hadn't taken time to work on yourself. We have gotten, that's how, and then issues that, especially like with men, I tell young, this is something I did because most of everything I'm telling y'all is things that I did. I used to tell my son, DJ, the baby, stop crying, hush it up. Boy, what you crying for? He might fall. Boy, get up. What you crying for? He crying because he's hurt. And I had to realize that same child that I'm telling to stop crying, that same child that I'm telling to hush it up is going to become a man one day. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to suppress all of that he's going through. All he's feeling, he's going to suppress it. And I believe that's what happened to my husband. I believe he grew up not expressing his feelings. To this day, I don't know why. To this day. And that's something I had to come to terms with and let go of because you want to know. You want to know. When we went to court, we didn't go to court till a year and a half later. So y'all know how I felt around here struggling, arm in a sling, can't use my arm. I'm disabled. I can't go to work nowhere. I can't take, I'm barely taking care of my children, trying to go to counseling, trying to send them to counseling. And this man out walking around and can go to work. And I got 6 bullet holes in my body. I got bullet holes in my head. And I was just like, what the world? What is with the justice system? Really? Is this what happens? Just because I didn't die, somebody can go back to work? And I had all this stuff that I'm dealing with, all this stuff that I was dealing with. Just, it was so much. And every time I wanted to give up, I just wanted to give up. I just wanted to throw in the towel. I just wanted to say, Lord, why? Why did you keep me here? Now I got to go through all this. Now I got to go through all this pain and transition, trying to get my life together. And I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. Trying to keep my mind together. I'm telling y'all, it was rough. It was rough. It was rough. That's why I tell people I don't hurt like regular people do. A lot of stuff, because that was some pain. That was some dark nights. And I had to keep reminding myself. In the Bible it tells you, it says you have to learn to encourage yourself. I learned that. I had to learn to do that. Because sometimes at night, in the middle of the night, at midnight, I'd be in there crying. My mom then would be sleeping. I'd be in there crying, arm burning like somebody got it in the oven. And I'm just like, I just want them to cut it off right here. If they could just cut this off right here, I'd be all right. I used to pray just to go to sleep for 5 minutes. Just, Lord, just let me sleep. And then as soon as I said that, I would say, but if I wake up, let me wake up in my right mind. Because I felt at times like I was losing it. Like I was losing my mind because the pain was so bad. The burning was so bad till I just, it was taking a toll on me. And then every time God, he would step in, and I met Preacher, he lived in Atlanta. He came down to Brunswick to preach, and I didn't know who he was. And this was like my first time going back to church, and I'm numb and I'm empty, and I'm just there. I'm just a shell. I'm just there. And I had to start going to Atlanta every 3 months so they could decide what they were going to do with my arm, if they were going to take nerve out my foot and put in my arm to see if it would get my hand to work, my nerves to work. So I was going to Atlanta every 3 months and met him at the church, and we started talking. So he would start calling me and just checking on me. And so he called one night and he said, you know, you've been on my heart, and you doing okay? And I was like, yeah, because I'm trying to put that mask on, trying to fake it. And he said, you've been on my heart. And so I told him about the pain in my arm. And I said, Preacher, I can't even sleep. Like, I can't sleep, and like it's literally about to drive me crazy. Like, I just feel like sometimes I just want to get up and run out the house because I can't get away from, like, I want to run and get away from it. And I just, it's messing with my mind. Like, I really feel like I'm losing my mind. And he said, let me tell you something. He said, pain doesn't always mean something's wrong. Pain can mean that something's healing. It's how you look at it. He says, so from now on, from this day forward, I want you to thank God for your healing. Every time, he said, if your arm hurt all day long, I want you to say, Lord, I thank you for my healing. He said, because it's how you look at it. He said, if you break your arm and put it in a cast, it's going to hurt and you're going to feel pain. He said, but that's because it's healing. And so I began to learn then how to speak what I want out my mouth and how powerful my words were. And I began to say it, and I would say it all night. I'd be up all night long. My mom would be asleep in the bed. I'd be up all night saying, Lord, thank you for my healing. Thank you. Because that's how bad my arm hurt. And maybe a year later, they finally told me that I wouldn't be able to use it. My nerves wouldn't heal because the bullet had severed some of my nerves, and some of them were stretched, and I would never, probably use my arm again. The bullet would probably stay in my arm. Well, let me tell y'all, the bullet moved, and the doctor just made a little cut, took it out, and one day my arm just started moving. And still today, if I go get it tested, my nerves are still severed, and my nerves are still stretched. But my arm is moving. And so it was just, I just realized how powerful our words are. And God means what he says. When he says, he is a healer, he is a miracle worker. He is who he say he is. And that's when I began to realize that I could put my name in the Bible and see myself in there. And I just had to trust him, and I just had to have faith. And because there was nothing that I could do. I couldn't put my life back together. Like I couldn't. There was nothing, no plan I could have to put my life back together. And I thank God, because there is nothing I would rather be doing now than what he has called me to do. I found my purpose in the midst of my pain, in the midst of the worst time of my life, in the midst of when I felt that I would have been, God, like, why did you let me live? That's how I felt at first. Why did you let me live? And now every day is, Lord, I thank you. I thank you for using me. I thank you for using my life. I thank you for letting me see that there was a whole nother woman inside of me, and that I had to be broken in order to find her. I had to be broken. I had to go through the pain. I had to go through so I can sit with somebody else and say, I understand where you're coming from. People don't know everything, And that's why I said I just felt God gave me the release. And I could have done this 10 years ago. I could have done it 15 years ago. But God gave me the release last month. It's time. It's time, because so many people out there are hopeless. So many people are not believing in me and the power that I have. And they need to know that I still perform miracles, that I'm still a miracle worker. They need to know that I'm still with them. They need to know if they come back to me, that I'm here waiting for them with open arms. They need to know that someone loves them unconditionally, because he did it for me. And that's why he saved me. That's why he made death behave. So your faith can go to another level. There is nothing, y'all, that God tell me to do that I don't think I can do. Nothing. There is nothing that I don't do. If I believe it, and I'm going to believe. If it takes 5 years, I'm going to believe. If God said it, I'm going to believe it. He helped me to become an overcomer. He helped me to live beyond what happened to me. And I know some people, and as I said, if you want to ask questions, you can ask questions. And I know some people ask me about forgiveness. I did forgive him. And forgiving him, and somebody asked me the other day, what did I go and say to him to let him know I forgave him? I don't have to go to him and tell him anything. I had to release it, because that's about me. I had to release me. I released me from carrying bitterness. I released me from carrying, from being angry and holding resentment. And because I want God to do what he needs to do in my life. I need him, and I can't do it carrying unforgiveness. And I'm not saying what he did was okay. But what I am saying is that I release myself. I'm not going to hold on to it. And it doesn't help me any. God saved me. God's hand is on my life. People ask me when I go to Atlanta, because he lives in Atlanta, am I afraid? I'm not afraid of anything. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I've felt the power of God. I know the power of God. So no, I'm not afraid. I've spoken all over, and I'm going to continue. I believe I'm covered. That day when I was on that sofa and all that blood, God was covering me in the blood of Jesus. And I just believe that. And so I'm not going to walk in fear. I'm not. And so I just believe that our gift, that what you have gone through may not be to the extreme as what I've gone through, but you still have a story to tell. You still, and that's a gift to somebody. Somebody is waiting for you to tell your story, and you're sitting wanting everything to come together and everything to be perfect. It's not going to work like that. It doesn't work like that. I used to ask God, Lord, why me? You could have showed me some other way. You could have called me some other way. And he said, no, I called you just the way because I knew you would answer. I knew you would answer. Because once I realized that a bullet had been through my head and out the other side, and I've been shot in 3 major places, and I should have died, because some people, they get shot in the leg and they die from a flesh wound. So all I wanted to say tonight was just look for God's divine intervention in your life. Look for God's divine intervention. Look for the small things. Listen to his voice in the midst of the chaos. Sometimes get in a quiet place, because he's there. He's there with us all the time. And I realized that when I was on that sofa begging, Beverly was outside the door. She was that close, but she couldn't get to me. And when that bullet left that gun, God just put his hands around it and allowed it to go through my head. That's how I see it. Because I should have died. I should have died. And I know that. And I'm just so grateful. I was telling him yesterday, I thank you for the cloud of grace and mercy that you cover me in every day. and the things that you have allowed me to see. Like yesterday with my grandbabies, I tell you that I just looked at them little girls and like, y'all just don't even know. It's a blessing to be here. It's a blessing to be able to see what I should have missed, but I'm still here. And so I just wanted to take time to encourage, and I wanted to be obedient to the Spirit, and share. And there's so much more, that God has done in my life. And a lot of things I had to wait. I had to wait 20 something years, for a home. I wanted a home for me and my children, but now I have a home for my grandkids to come to. I had to wait on it, but that's okay. That's okay, because I realized God had to prepare me, and I had to be in the place to receive it, and I had to be in a place to take care of it also. And so I thank him. I thank him for the wait. I really do. I thank him for all the pain, all the love, the mercy, all the people I've met. I thank him for everything that I've gone through, because I know now that I'm an overcomer. I know I am a living testimony, and I know that, God is real. And that's where it all started, me telling him, God, I want to know if you're real. And so I just, thank him. Is anybody want to come on and ask questions or anything? If you are interested in my books, they are www.valerielwilliams.org. That's where all my books at, on my website. Let me see. Well, do anybody have any questions? Can y'all hear me okay? I'm trying. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. I can't see where y'all are asking questions at. I'm sorry. Let's see. Well, swipe left to reveal. That's what I'm doing. Well, I don't know why it won't let me see the comments. I'm sorry. I was using my... Yes, you can hear me? Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, I see it now. I don't know what I was doing wrong. Y'all have to forgive me. Okay. Yes, you have a question. Who has a question? Who has a question? Yes. Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to hold you all tonight. I just really appreciate it. Please share this. And maybe it'll be a blessing to someone else. Stroll up. Okay. I was trying to see. Shanika, can you write it if you see it? Because I don't, and the question is there. I don't see it. So I see Loria B. Young, but I don't see a question. I don't know. I just see it's telling me who's watching. Gloria Watkins. Oh, okay. Well, I don't... Gloria... I'm so sorry. I don't... I don't see her name at all, and I'm all the way up. Shanika, I see you, but I don't see, and I know Gloria too. I'm sorry, y'all. I hate that technology sometimes, I tell you. Well, my mom is on here, and my sister, Shanika, is my sister, is my baby sister. I thank God for my family. I tell you, they have really, really been on my side the whole time, and I thank God for them. I don't know what I would have done without them. Okay, Gloria, I see you saying it's okay. I enjoyed your live. Thanks, love. I don't know. I can't see. She was asking if the trauma still affects you emotionally. No, I think, like I was saying earlier, Gloria, when, of course, when I take time like I did tonight, and if I go back, and especially with, if it has to do with my children and how I felt at that time, that does bring up some emotions, because I felt, you know, as a mom, you just want to do the best you can. And at that time, I just felt like I couldn't do anything. Like, you know, I couldn't even comb my daughter's hair. And so, you know, it just, yeah, but in just certain things, especially like maybe if I meet a young lady, or if I'm anybody, if I talk to them and I can kind of really feel where they're coming from, and that takes me back. And I think it always will. Sometimes, well, most of the times when I get up in the morning, I even forget myself that I actually been shot in the head, because my mom used Neosporin. And I didn't have to have any stitches or anything like that, no surgery. So, but I totally forget sometimes. And then there's some days when I do realize, like, dang, you know, you were shot in the head. And so yeah, and it can get emotional, but I've learned how to still be grateful and thankful through it all. I'm very, very proud of you. Keep the faith, keep me in prayer. We'll love you, and you always keep it. I appreciate that, Ma. I love you too. Dee says she can message you her question, Facebook filters comment. Oh, okay. Okay, thanks for letting me know that, Dee, because I was like, what? Hi. Hey, Vendolin, thank you for joining. Y'all please share and just be a blessing to someone and share with them. Is there any more questions? Okay. All right, then. I didn't want to keep you all on all night, but thank you for joining me tonight. And I pray that God's divine intervention has been a blessing to you in some way. And just please share. I am open for speaking engagements. We are getting ready to go to Turks and Caicos in August. God is still opening doors and still allowing, you know, me to travel and be a blessing and to inspire others. So it's just a blessing. Bless you and your family. Thank you, Gloria. I appreciate that. D. Bryce, I remember you sharing your story at Titus in Jacksonville. Yes, I remember that too. That was a blessing. I tell you, they really rolled out the carpet when we came. That was huge. That was huge, and that was a blessing. So I thank you for that, Dee. Thank you for joining. Makisha, thank you, love. I love you too. Dawn, thank you. Love you too. See, these are all the people that I have met and I would not have met. And so I'm just so grateful for that. And so I'm going to sign off and say good night. Y'all be blessed. Much love. Thank you. Again, go to my website, ValerieLWilliams.org. Check it out, and we'll do this again soon. Love you all. Bye.